and God willing, I just fixed my internet. It's not going to keep taking a giant dump on me all night like it did last night. Welcome back to Roll and Review, where we talk about all things nerdy and awesome. I'm Jim, and today, as you can probably tell from the title, another game review of the wonderful game, The Forest. If you haven't heard of The Forest, or you're not familiar with The Forest, it is a horror survival game that came out in 2018, where you are on an airplane with your child. The plane goes down, and all you see is this crazed cannibal man who should probably put some pants on. Don't worry, it's friendly. They don't have junk. Pick up your child and walk away, and then you pass back out and you wake up like in the morning or whatever. It's kind of crazy. So like most survival games, you have to get food, water, build shelter to survive, with the added terror of cannibals coming to murder you. And if you're in the wrong place, almost constantly. That sounds kind of basic, kind of lame, boring-ish. Like, sure, you have to fight off these cannibals and mutants and things, but like, okay, so it's just another survival game. But you actually do have your child somewhere on the peninsula. I think it's peninsula, and you have to go find them, which adds a little more story. There's stuff to find around the island, like old VHS tapes that you can watch on a camera. You find pictures, things like that kind of fill in more of the lore. It's still fairly mysterious, even with some of that, of what exactly happened, what exactly is going on here to this day. But they also have these kind of crazy caves and these cave systems where a lot of the furthering of the game happens, or you actually have to go down there and fight bigger mutants and crazy things and these like mutant babies that just fling themselves at you and hurt you, which are not fun to deal with. All of that extra stuff actually brings it, to me, elevates it beyond just like a normal survival game or a normal horror game where it's like, scary. Okay. It's actually quite fun to play. Now you can get sidetracked by building things like gazebos, which will unlock you the, like, shouldn't you be looking for Timmy achievement, because you should be looking for Timmy instead of building gazebos. But yeah, it's just fun. Yes. It's a good game. I will say, caveat to that, I have found it to be more fun with friends, because you can play online with some people. But it is scarier to play it alone, because when you get online, you have enough people working together and fighting these things together. Some of the risk of going out and running into cannibals, running into mutants, is negated by the fact that there are just so many of you. For instance, alone, if I hear a giant mutant coming at me or near me, I don't necessarily always run towards it, depending on, my health, my stamina, what time of day it is, because if I can just get inside and go to sleep instead of having to deal with that, like, that's fine. But online, when we got 4 or 5 people, we hear one of those mutants, we're like, where is it? Let's go find him. And we are all pulling our bows and katanas and things. There is a difference in how I've noticed we play comparing single player and multiplayer. Another fun feature in it is that, obviously you craft and do all that stuff, but when the caves that I mentioned before, they're a risk. But everyone has a reward to it, whether it's a rebreather so you can go underwater and dive through some of these submerged caves, whether it's the katana. Katana is a weapon you find in one of the caves. Basically better equipment, so you don't have to just use your little Bic lighter to light your way at night, but you can have a flashlight. There's a fun risk and rewarding going down to those. But I will say, the game's not perfect, as no game is. So there are a few things I would enjoy improvements. One, when you're building custom buildings, you're trying to put a roof on those custom buildings, the roofs tend to leave a major gap, which you're putting logs together. Obviously, there are going to be gaps between the logs. Things aren't perfectly straight. You're not buying produce 2x4s. You're cutting down trees and using the logs to build. Of course, you expect some gaps between things, light shining through, all of that. But when you're building the roof, you'll have like a roof that has the two angled sides and then like just the two flat sides that just keep going straight up to the peak and fill in that triangular area. In this game, those areas just stay open, and aesthetically, I hate how it looks because you have these, these roofs sitting there and just open air all the way. And I'm just like, just fill it in. What is good about building, though, when you put down a building or, the wall or whatever you want to build, it does tell you what you need and how much you currently have, so you can specifically go get the things you need for what you're building without having to like remember like, did I get enough stone? Do I need more? You're like, hey, I have 20 stone. It says I need 18. Perfect, I'm fine. Just grab some more sticks. Get my 2 logs. Not all bad in building. Crafting, in this one, the sequel's coming out soon. You go into your inventory, and it's just like you open up your backpack and a tarp and put it on the ground. It doesn't actually happen when you're like looking at someone who's in their inventory, but that's the screen, and you just have all your stuff laid out. You just have to kind of like put your cursor over things to find like, there's my cloth, there are my sticks, there's that. It doesn't look bad. Sometimes when you're like, especially when you're new, trying to figure out what you have and trying to figure out what you need, either having a label there to see, or if they went to a more traditional inventory of boxes, would be better to navigate. However, I would rather see, it doesn't even have to be all the way up, like up there all the time, but if it was, say, you held down a key and labels came up so that you can like, I don't know where this is, I hit control. I hold control and it labels, especially when it comes to the skins, because all the skins are kind of like down there in the corner. So boar, rabbit, raccoon, deer, all of that, like they're just down there in the corner. You kind of have to like, I have rabbit, I have deer, there's my raccoon, and so just having a place where you can just hit it and it goes, all right, you have rabbit, raccoon, deer. Oh, okay, cool. Along with that, crafting from those ingredients. You, as it is now, you take the ingredient you want to use. So deer skin, important for things like warm suit, so you can go into the icy areas. It's just there in the middle. It's like, yeah, combine more things. And there'll be a cog, and when you put your cursor over the cog, it shows you all the things that could be made with that ingredient you already put in there, which is cool. I would enjoy if they made a way to kind of like pin whichever one you're looking for, so you don't have to keep going back to that cog to fill in more. So you go like the warm suit, and you're like 6 deer skin. You see warm suit, pin it. It has all the ingredients up top. You can go, okay, 6 deer skin, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4 boar skin, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 raccoon, one or 2 rabbits, rope. I don't remember all the ingredients, but so you could just do that without having to constantly go like, okay, I need 4 of these, right? 2, 3, 4. Yep. Okay, what's the next thing? Raccoon. Okay, that. Okay, what's next? Just let us pin it, so we can just see. Hey, this is what you need. You can just go through and go, I want that. Very similar to what they do with building. I think it would be way simpler to actually combine everything without losing the aesthetic of just putting it all in a square grid and like, yeah, you look at all the stuff you have, just click and click. I think that'd be the best option. The last thing is how the geography was made, and I hope they kind of do something better in the new one. I mean, some of the graphics look a little dated. It's 3 years old, and on that, I mean, I think it was in like early access for like 3 years before that with a few thousand players. I think it like in early access it peaked at like 18,000 concurrent players like December of 2016, and then it peaked again when at like full release. However, while it's had better success after full release, and it's had peaks of higher numbers. It really got popular recently, and so I'm not sure they did as good as we've seen in the sequel graphics in this first one, seeing as it's been a long time since they've had a major update. So we're still running off like older graphics, and because they've been switching over to a sequel. But the geography of the peninsula, while obviously you have different areas, you have a heavily wooded area where you start. You have some more like middle of the ground wooded. You have kind of a snowy mountain on the back side of this peninsula. You have water surrounding it. You have also this, like, I'm going to call it a lake in the middle. It pretty much goes across the entire peninsula, but it never quite actually like touches the ocean around. And that's something that that very much annoys me, because they give you boats. Well, they don't give you. You can craft boat, a few different sizes, and like a houseboat, which you should be able to put chairs on. But for some reason, you can't put a chair on a houseboat. You can put a bed. You can put drying racks and rain collectors and so much other stuff. But we put a catapult on a houseboat, but we could not put a chair on the houseboat. And also, if more than one person's on the boat, and say you're trying to move around the houseboat, you might fall off the boat, because the game sees you and the boat as two separate things. And so, say you jump, because there's a way to get on the roof of the houseboat where we put a lot of things by using like a rainwater collector, jumping up onto that, then on the roof. If the boat's in motion because someone else is driving it, and you try to make that jump, even though you're supposedly both moving at the same speed, you jump and the boat will leave you. So physics, a little bit of an issue. But so you have these boats, and like the houseboat is a fairly expensive thing to make. Just a lot of logs, things like that to make it. But you can't sail it between the ocean and that interior waterway. You can build one on the interior waterway, you can build one on the ocean, but you can't sail between the two, which I think is kind of weird. I would have much rather seen places where you could actually sail from the ocean into the interior waterway. So you can build one houseboat, use that as your base, and sail it into where you want to go to get resources, and then sail it back out if that's how you want to play. But you can't do that. And it's kind of weird for these bodies of water to flow into this interior lake and have it never get to the ocean, which at times is maybe 10-20 yards away from the ocean. Like, there are points like on the east side of the map where it gets so close, but it doesn't quite make it. So I think, if you're going to have boats and stuff like that, I would have preferred there to be ways to sail in and out of the interior. Also, I think you could go bigger with the map and really spread some things out and give some more diversity in the areas, because it's a forest. It's a forest. It's called the forest. You're in a forest, but one, you can move across the map quite quickly, so there's not much risk of like, oh, I need to plan to leave my base for days to quickly go to the other side of the island, do this, and come back. It's very much like hey, do we want to do this? Yep. Okay, let's just go. And sometimes you'll be over there exploring a cave, and you'll come out days later and be like, okay, and run back that day. Heck, if it's a forest game, you can do different types of forest, or just different breaks in the geography to kind of set it up as different areas, so you have reasons to go visit these other areas except to explore, to find caves and go down. Those would all be improvements to the geography of the game, but that's just my rambling thoughts. Overall, out of a 1 to 10 scale, I think this is a solid 8. Is it the best game out there for survival? No. Is it the best game for like a horror story game? No, I think it's good for that combination, and I think it is unique where it doesn't feel like a copy of some other game. Like there are a million clones of Minecraft. This isn't one of those. It is a unique idea, unique story. It's executed fairly well. Are changes to make to improve the game, as always, but it is a solid game. And honestly, there are a lot of people playing it right around now. 2 or 3 months ago, they hit like peak players of like 31,000 at a time. It's fun to play with your friends. It's fun to mess around. We may have built some roller coasters in our game with a few of us. We had to cut down hundreds of trees to do it. It's obnoxious, but it's really fun. We're enjoying it. Literally everyone involved with this channel is enjoying it together. If survival is something you're into, yeah, pick it up. There will be a bit of a learning curve, like remembering to turn on tree regrowth because that's not automatically on. I don't know why, but it is a solid, fun game. Play to your heart's content. It's and maybe, just maybe, be like us and come up with your own nicknames for these things instead of just cannibals, mutants, Armsy, Virginia, whatever. We have a habit of calling them all dickbags. So go kill some dickbags. Enjoy yourself.
A big old wall here. You know?
It's the Great Wall against dickbags.
Go for it. Still the best thing ever.